everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're taking a look at SSERAFIM's Perfect Night official choreography version of their track Perfect Night. Like I've already said, I think this is the first time I'm reacting to SSERAFIM specifically. I think I've done other girl groups, but this is the first time I'm getting a comeback from them, watching what they have to offer, things like that. I have seen their choreography before, so I kind of have a subtle understanding of what to expect. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna check it out. It's more that dreamlike vibe with the lighting here. Fun. So the choreo is more on the simpler side, I would say, compared to what I was expecting. But I like it's a nice groove to it. So changing costumes, they changed location. I know this is a collaboration with Overwatch. This is kind of fun, and I know there's Overwatch kind of has the vibe in the back, so it feels like. I will say some of the grooves that they're trying to do, because of what they're wearing, it's a little bit hard to get the authentic pocket of how you would do that groove normally. When you think about the type of track it is, I mean, it makes sense. I will say this choreo does feel different than some of the other choreos we've already seen. So there's a chance this was a puzzle piece choreo. Okay, so initial thoughts. SSERAFIM, I think very clean. And I know from the get-go, they had more members, and then things happened, and then they have less members now. I'm not going to speak on to that as much. I did hear that some people were saying in the comments of this, not this video, but Perfect Night in general, that this track was probably, they think that New Jeans would have been a good contender for a track like this, and I would agree, because when you think about how New Jeans' concept is trending for how they're doing it, and SSERAFIM, I don't know what concepts they're currently actively doing. I'm assuming it's this, and it's a promotional one with Overwatch. So of course, I think it's a mix of like, there's a lot of moving pieces, and I don't know if it was multiple people were contenders for this track. I don't know how that works in the commercial realm side of the K-pop industry, but I do think I can see that. I really like how SSERAFIM presents it though. It's a nice concept on them. I know this looks like a true dance practice outfit is what I like of the first set, and it looks like they're in a dance practice, right? 2, 3, 4. So I think too that they are hitting a lot of the choreography, which I would honestly stem it from the choreo, not them. The choreo is riding more on the whole counts and the and counts, which, because the only reason why I say this is because it is it's promoting something, and it's not a comeback. I wouldn't really call this a comeback. It's in collaboration with a video game, right? Overwatch. I think that a lot of these things we can have a more empathetic perspective on, because you don't necessarily, I'm not going to sit here and project that, oh, this is too simple. I don't think that. I think if you're talking about digestibility to your audience, this is very digestible. If you want it to have that viral sense to it, it has that. Very visually pleasing. It's clean, you know, and I like that da-da-na-na. So even though it's more simple, like it takes up more counts is what I mean by simple, in content. And it's not as polyrhythmic either. And that's why I'm saying it is more simplistic, because you can do something slow but polyrhythmic and it's still tricky. Here, a lot of these are moves that we have seen before, but they're in slower sequences. In the groove, it is tasteful. So I'm not dogging on the fact that it's simpler. If anything, I think it matches the aesthetic of the track. It's not doing too much, but also you have to think about the full context of why this song exists and why they're doing it too. I think this is one of the more chill sequences that we see here, boom, where you're hitting it on both sides, and I think it's easier to, I don't know if they're gonna perform this live, I'm not sure, but if the promotions are just staying online. Like this right here. That was really nice where they do just the hips. They could have just chose to do just the hips, but it added on with the hand, kind of framing around the hips, pushing up. So that was a really subtle polyrhythmic sequence that they did, which I liked. That right there, yeah, right into the wordplay. Feel like magic. It's really nice, and also we have to factor in their spacing has been great this whole time. I didn't notice any discrepancies when I my first watch. I do think it's interesting that we have two of them wearing the same type of shoe and everybody else wearing different, but it kind of goes with the concept. It really does look like they're in a dance practice, and I think that's fun. So it went from dance practice to stage, and I think that's kind of like the vibe they were going for, which I like. The spacing looks great, I would say. All of them are carrying themselves similarly. I would say some of them have it's just chest, how their chest is angle-wise. Some of them are pushing it more forward. Others are trajecting more to the diagonal. Hers is actually leaning more up, and then hers is down. So those are just really subtle torso cleanliness things that could really help make these things look more together, especially when you're dealing with somebody with a long sleeve and with extra fabric. That does affect the range of the choreography. Even if everybody is the exact same, you also can tell that she does have a bent arm. That is because of her outfit, because choreographically it does appear to be a straight arm. So that's just a discrepancy that she had to make for the sake of keeping it on, I think is what it looked like, because it appears that it's loose here. It's fun, it's nice, and because she's on the point, it works. So it doesn't look like it's taking away from what she's doing at all, you know? So, I mean, I like it. It's nice, it's chill. Just a chill choreo, you know? Me and my girls are like me and my girls, you know, and they're all girls and they're hanging out. And I see another thing that factors in the simplicity is so far we haven't seen a ton of formation shifts like you normally would for a comeback, which, like I said, I wouldn't count this as a comeback for SSERAFIM. It's just a promotional is what it feels like. So, but notice though that what contributes to the simplicity is the formations. Their levels are not super drastic. You're not playing around with that as much. The features, I think, are pretty standard. Like you're seeing your feature of who's singing at what part, which is great. But they're hanging out in the V shape type where you have your people symmetrically framing on both sides, but outward to where your point is contributing to the shape of a V. So I do, I think that's definitely what's contributing to making it simpler. I do like the fact now that we have two lines and they're windowed and staggered. Also, it's interesting to note here that it makes it look feminine, but it doesn't look weak, and I think, and I really like that you can tell that some of the movements, they are using the arms, but other movements, they are purposely using the back to help create it, and that's what makes it look strong and not like I'm flinging it around. It's also going to help contribute to the cleanliness of the section. just that whole little section here, it feels, the second one that they did felt like there was more tension behind it when there was bleeding it through. Could be who was featured for that part and how she was executing it. It looked like she was utilizing her back more, so it appeared stronger, filled up her music more. And that's how you can really, with girl groups especially, because if you look, all of them, when you look at their physique makes them vulnerable to not carrying more masculine styles. So which is why a lot of times you don't see girl groups in K-pop if part of the concept is maintaining a certain physique, which that's a completely separate video, and I do have many opinions on that, but that's not the point of this. Just when you look though, all of them, they're very toned, right? But they're not muscular. So they don't have a lot of how their posture and how their carriage is. It leaves them vulnerable to, when they wear short sleeves or shorts, they're not able to hit certain movements that normally would work as a groove in a more neutral, like unisex style. So, and you see some of those things overlap within this because it's an enmeshment of multiple choreographies is what it feels like. Especially near the tail end, it felt like a very different choreo than what we saw at the beginning, which is what makes me think there's multiple choreographers on it. But correct me if I'm wrong, they made it just wanted to go wild and go a different route in that sense. But I would say that they are doing a pretty good job though of, maintaining angles, looking even so far as to look at the wrist. You notice that they're not just protruding it, they're creating an element to it, and everyone's committing to it, not just one person, which makes it look tasteful. My hand's really big there, but even in the front you can tell that her wrist is bent, so everybody's framing each other very well. And I do like, it looks like we're backstage ready to perform. Like, that's fun. They're just having really nice focal point moments. It just feels more like, listen to the lyrics. It feels more like a music video. Like, the choreography was not the main point of this. It was more the promotion of who they're promoting with. And they're like the visuals. It's more so for their visuals is what I think why this was made. But they're doing a fabulous job being clean. I think this is nothing super brutal about this in comparison to other things I have personally seen them do. Going into, it does allow them to express more personality, and it's more performance demanding in the face. Like, you want to make sure that you're committing up here, full in character the whole time, because at any point you can be viewed. And now we're back to a straight line, so we're dragging it up, and then we frame it around. So it's the same choreo here. Then they build it up. So that's an example of what I'm talking about here. Notice in their torso, they didn't really rock forward at all. Also, when you think about the backbeat and the timbre, there's really not like a heavy bass that justifies the rocking going forward. So them staying up does match with that, the aesthetic of the sound context and the backbeat, right? Okay, so the reason why I feel like people think that this could have been given to New Jeans is because that back little sounds just like Super Shy. And that track reminds me of Powerpuff Girls. If you haven't made that connection, that's something that I just connected in my brain. I've heard that type of sound in the Powerpuff Girls cartoon. And then you hear it here if you listen. Turn it up. Hold on, not here. Now, I'm not saying that New Jeans owns that. No, I'm just saying that I have recently seen New Jeans do tracks that have that type of timbre in it or tonal color in it. So it makes sense why people naturally associate this track with them. So that's just something to keep in mind. And they get to have more freedom in the upper body. So, I mean, I like the fact that even in their transitions, they're not just walking to their transition. I don't really think we've seen that at all. They go to a transition, but there's always movement involved. So I do appreciate the choreographers for doing that. No basket runs, no just walking. Walking to your spot. It's at least partying. There's structure behind it, so it feels tasteful. Like, it feels seamless in the transitions as well as the content. And I think that's what you want. Even there, like da 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 da, and boom no 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 da na, slightly syncopated, and I think they're going with that girl crush aesthetic, possibly, right? And then here, now they are on stage. So I really do like the concept. It is simple but effective. They go from a dance practice into backstage, and then they are on stage. And you don't really notice that until you see the crowd. That right there, dun dun dun. You notice that just the entire groove shifts. The energy is higher here. It could be because they're simulating being on stage, so the energy is a lot bigger. I don't quite know. But if you just look here, like that double hit, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that was in any of this up until this point. This, from here on, which is what makes me think that it was a different choreographer, because it's just more physically, there's more physical expectations of how you're supposed to emulate these grooves, you know? But I like it though. It does have simple, that right there, going right into a shuffle, into a kick, and they're in dresses. You know, like I feel like this choreo is made without thinking about what they're wearing. It's really what my thoughts are. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's just, whenever people choreograph, they don't necessarily think, or we don't quite know what they're wearing anyway. Normally that's after. So I guess that's my one note, is that keeping the kick in there and they're in really, really short skirts, that's just an interesting note. But I mean, it looked fine. That was just another instance of, it just feels like significantly a rise in energy in the grooves, in the physical demand in comparison to what we've already seen groove-wise. It just feels like there's a lot more being asked of them for this bit. Not saying they're incapable. I'm just saying when you think about the vibe up until they were on stage was one particular facet of simplicity with their grooves and their formations, but then when we see it here, it feels like it was elevated, not just in the performance and stage presence, but also in the content, like the actual grooves they were asked to do in these outfits was, I don't think, quite hit the mark in comparison if they were wearing something different. But I do know a lot of those things we cannot control because it's different groupings or teams operating. Choreographers are not the same as your costume, not the same as makeup, not the same as your production staff, your camera ops, all of that. So I do know, all in all of these things, this is just a fun promotional for 르세라핌 in collaboration with Overwatch. This is 르세라핌's comeback, and this is our new concept that we're going with. I don't quite think that's what it is. So please take everything that I said with that perspective, not in a, I'm projecting this onto all of their choreography, because that is not the case. And I have seen, I think it was their first track, Fearless. I hadn't reacted to it on here, but I have seen it whenever they came out originally, and I really liked it. I love the spunkiness of it, and I think it was probably one of my favorite debut tracks of the year that they came out. You know, whether it's this year, I don't even remember. It was like, I think it was last year? I don't know. Anyway, but I mean, I liked it. This was fun, and it was, you know, it was a nice vibe. It was a perfect night. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I was helpful in some way. Like I said, this was the first time that I'm analyzing 르세라핌, but it is not the first time that I have seen 르세라핌. So please take everything that I've said with the context of, this is a promotional, this is not a true comeback. And I'm just gonna stand by that, because I feel like a comeback has very different physical demands, and this just felt more like a party, a vibe. You know, it's a moving commercial, a dancing commercial, pretty much. It's really what it is. And so we're not going to project on the group any sort of assumption of anything, because of what I just kind of said, you know. But thank you guys again for watching. If you want to see more K-pop content, street woman fighter, street man fighter, street dance China, anything dance content related, I have on YouTube as well as on Patreon. You can go check that out. Got a bunch of early release stuff there. I will catch y'all on the flip side.